Hello everybody and welcome to the first session of Handmade Rooms, where we code completely from scratch graphics applications in the Odin programming language. We'll start with a simple ray tracer. Today we're gonna have like a ton of work because we're basically gonna have to bootstrap an application from nothing, really. And with the goal of today is to just have a window, a well behaving window using the Win32 API. So without further ado, let's get started. So we'll start with a completely empty folder here in Sublime. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just save this project in this folder. We'll call it Handmade Rooms. Alright, and our new file, our first file is gonna be just a batch file to compile our program. So I'm gonna do Odin run, and I'm gonna do main.odin, which we don't have yet. We'll put it in a source folder and we'll out it to a bin folder that we'll create, and we'll call it application.exe, and we'll save that as a build.bat. Alright, so we have our build file. We're going to create a new directory, right? New folder, sorry. We'll call it bin. Yeah, and we create another one. We'll call it source. And in source, we'll create a new file, and we'll call it main.odin. Right. We'll call this a package main, and we'll for now just do a thumped print line just to be sure that everything is working. Thumped, and we'll have a main proc, and we'll thumped print line hello. Obviously it has to be hello, right? So I have my Sublime text set up such that in my current project, if there exists a file, it's going to look for a file called build.bat, and it's just going to execute it when I press Ctrl B. So that's what I'm doing. And we have a hello, so success. Okay, so done. Next episode. No, of course not. We have to actually make a window. We're not even close to being done. Okay, so to pick up the paste, our main program. So if you watch the video about this the design that we're going to be following, we're going to have two separate folders. What do you want? Two separate folders. One is going to be the application folder, and one is going to be the platform folder, right? And in our platform folder, we'll have Windows. And maybe in the future we'll have other stuff, but for now we'll just have Windows. And in our Windows we'll have a new file, and we'll call it window.odin. Yes. And in our application we'll have a file called, you'll never guess it, called application.odin. Alright, so here's our files. Okay, so in our application, we'll make it a package, and we'll call it application, of course. And we'll have an is running thing, and it's gonna be a bool, and it's gonna equal to true initially. And that's it for now. In our window, we are going to have to import. First of all, it's going to be a package. It's going to be window, and we're going to import our application. Let's see if that works. Application. Right. And we're gonna have a run application proc, if you can believe it. Alright. And just so we know that everything is working, we're gonna go to our main. We're gonna just grab the stuff that we did, and we're gonna put it here. Alright. And actually, we're gonna hello our application, and let's say title, and let's go to an application and add a title, and we'll call it application, if you can believe it. Yeah, so in our main, we're gonna have to import the platform, right? Platform / Windows, right? And we'll actually just call it platform, and we'll actually just do this when Odin OS is equal to Windows, of course. Right? And in here, we're just going to say platform dot run application. Now let's see what we get. So again, we have an application layer, and we have our platform layer, which is Windows, and we have a window here, and it's from a package called window. Actually, it should be Windows. And yeah, we're gonna import our application, right? So we'll have an application title, which is here. That's this package, and it has a title called application, right? Am I missing something? Don't think so. Will it work? Will it work? We have an hello application. Alright, so we have a scaffold that is working. We can start our actual real stuff. Alright. Yeah. So we don't need that, obviously. Now we need to start talking about how to create a window in Windows Win32, which is non-trivial at all. So if you search on Google you will find this wonderful page in MSDN, obviously, and it'll tell you all about how to create a window. And if you have a lot of time on your hands, you can actually go and read it. Of course, we will not do that. So I want to try a shortcut. So I'm gonna use Visual Studio just to create a new project, Windows desktop application. Yeah. And testing, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna create, and we're just gonna think a bit, and look what we got. We got all bunch of crap, all bunch of stuff here that we can try to port and steal, right? However, we're not actually gonna try to do that because that will take a long time. So I'm gonna cheat even more, and I'm gonna just copy paste from a code that I already have, and we'll reference back to this and to MSDN even as we need to explain some things. And we will do another thing using this guy, where you can control click and go to wherever that thing is. Sorry. Yeah, and if we want to know other stuff and we don't know what uint is, you can control click it here and you say, oh, it's a type def of an unsigned int. So I'll mostly be using this window to this Visual Studio project to do these kinds of stuff, just to show how, if you don't know, say, what this thing is, you can just click it and you can see what it is. Sort of. You can either do that or you can search MSDN. Sometimes it's easier to do here, especially if there's like macros and stuff that we'll need to port over when we're doing our Win32 binding. So, alright, back to our thing. Alright, so we have a run application thing. Okay, here we need to do a bunch of stuff. We need to register Windows class. Let's go back to MSDN here. So it can tell you all about the Windows class and what it has, and blah blah blah. We can click on this and then it shows us all the stuff that we need. So we basically, it's a structure and we need to fill it with those things, right? So one thing you can do is just grab this thing as is, and we'll go to our project and we'll start filling up our Windows bindings. So we'll make a new file here and we'll call it bindings. Actually, we'll call it structs for now, right? And we'll paste it right here. And that's an Odin file, obviously. So we need to do this, and I'm not going to go into what tag means. Just ignore it. We don't need it. And it's a struct. Great. And that's the name. So we just put it there. Yeah, we could have done this, right? And obviously we're then gonna need to do stuff like this, right? And like this, right? Etc. And if you've gone through this entire process, you will end up with something that looks like this. Ta-da! Okay, so now it's a struct, it's an Odin struct, it's not a Windows struct. But look, it references all these other things. So now it's like a rat hole. You have to go and inspect what's an age instance, what's an int, what's a blah blah blah, right? So you can go and use this guy. You can just actually where's our program? This is the program, right? So say I want to know what age cursor is. I don't know what's age cursor, right? So I can just paste it here, age cursor. Now look, I can control click it. Can I? Yeah. It says age cursor is an age icon. Okay, so what's an age icon? So I can go here and look, it's a bloody macro. So I need to go here and I see, okay, it does this and it's a struct name and blah 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 and unused and blah blah blah. Anyway, you get the idea. You can rat hole on this, and that's kind of the way it goes for doing the bindings. I won't go through the entire process of making those entire bindings. I'm just showing you the process that I went through to generate the bindings, basically. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but you do it once and the rat hole looks infinite, but trust me, it isn't. And it's not as terrible as it may sound. Okay, so we need this class thing. So we need to instantiate it with a bunch of stuff. Now in our application we also, if you can see, it's using the same, it's in the same package, right? So anything I define here, provided that I actually do it properly, right? Anything I define here is going to be automatically accessible here. I don't even need to import it. Okay, so I can do this thing, right? And now I've defined my class. And look, my application, it needs a class name. So let's go to our application and we'll call this a class name instead of a title. And that's the name of the class. Now, it's not like a class in the C++ sense. It's like a window type-ish thing, something that in the Win32 is going to be registered as a type of window, because you can have multiple instances, multiple windows of the same kind. So this is like a thing you have to register before you create your window, and it needs a bunch of stuff that we don't have yet. So it needs an age instance. What's an age instance? Well, that's let's go back to this guy actually in here. In the API entry in WinMain, you can see there's an age instance, right? Anything starting with an age is like a handle, which is like an opaque pointer-ish thing that you can't really do anything with, poke into, but you can pass around in the Win32 API. So there's a bunch of those things. Can ignore the previous instance, it's not relevant. However, this thing, this win main thing, ignore the W. There's a bunch of stuff with Win32, like W, every time you see it's like wide, it means for wide character sets, or like Unicode. Ignore that. But anyway, so if you, this is the actual entry point in this application. So if you compile C or C++ with MSVC, with the Microsoft C and C++ compiler, it looks for stuff like this. Obviously in Odin it won't be the case, so there's nothing that's going to be calling that and passing this in, because this function doesn't, this procedure won't exist in Odin. So we need a different way of getting the instance. And there is a different way of getting the instance, and it's using a procedure that is called like this, get module handle. And how do you know that? I think going through here you will be able to find out somewhere. Anyway, you can spend like 2 weeks pouring through Win32. I don't want to get too much in the rat hole of Win32, because this is not really a Win32 course. I just want to get through this nightmarish part of the course, so we can get to the fun stuff. So so this procedure returns if we look for it in MSDN. Let's just try that. Maybe that's not the way to search. This is the way to search. Yeah. Alright. Get module handle. So this is the thing that you can call from anywhere, I think. Inside a Win32 application, it'll just give you the handle to the instance of your window. And if you scroll all the way back, you can see that it is coming from a library, a DLL called kernel, right? The kernel 32 lib and the DLL. So it's the kernel 32 library. So we need to bind Odin to this thing. So let's see how we do that. So we'll create a new file, and we'll call it bindings.odin. Right. So in here we'll have all the code that exposes procedures from the Win32 API. And the thing that we want is, let's just do this one by hand. Okay, so we have this guy, right? And okay, so this is what we want to expose. And the way we do that is, it's a foreign thing. First of all, we need a package Windows, right? Because it's part of this directory. So package Windows, and we there's a way to do like foreign import, and you give it a name for the namespace that you're gonna use, and it's gonna be a system and the system thing, and it's gonna be a kernel32.lib. If you didn't know how you're gonna be doing that, you can look inside the Odin standard library, and you can find out this kind of stuff, how it's done. Okay, so, and then we're gonna do like foreign, right? And we'll call it kernel, and anything we put in here is gonna be stuff that's gonna get that's the binding, right? So it's gonna look for the thing that we name here, and obviously we need to change that to proc, and it's gonna be returning this handle, right? And we need to make it without a body, because we're just declaring the thing, and it's gonna expect some procedure with that with that signature. So long pointer to C string. Okay, so that's what this means. We can actually, whenever we see that, we can do C string, just so you know. Okay, and another thing we have to do here. So the calling convention of anything that's going to be in here is going to be like the calling convention of Windows. So instead of putting on every single thing in here a different calling convention, you can just do this. You can change the default calling convention for this scope, this foreign scope, and we're gonna make it the std, which is the thing you need for binding to Win32. Okay. Now, of course, we don't have an age module. Like what's that, right? So again, age, anything starting with an age is gonna be a handle, and a handle is just you can just consider it to be like a unique identifier. So it's like a unique pointer. It's just going to be like a void pointer or row pointer in Odin. So we can technically do something like this. Raw footer, right? Yeah, and we can make it like distinct, right? So that'll work, but we're gonna have a lot of these things, so we're gonna create a new file, and we're gonna call it types.odin, right? Right. So let's just move this out of here and into here, and of course we're gonna need package. Okay, so here in this file we're gonna dump all this kind of crap for the types of Win32, and we can then forget about it. So we need int, and we need age instance and age icon and then age cursor, etc. Just in this case, I'm gonna actually do these things. So uint, let's find out what this is. So uint, it's an unsigned int, which is gonna be like an unsigned int 32. So it's gonna be a u32, right? So let's get back to our thing. It's gonna be in our types. The uint is gonna be 32. Right? Just see. Yeah. Okay. So what else do we need? So this thing was actually something else before I changed it, right? It was this guy, right? So let's do this. We'll put it in types, right? So we can just, so the reason I'm doing this, there's all, so different people have different preferences on how they approach these bindings, but the reason I like doing it this way is such that once I have this filled up with a bunch of stuff, and then I have a place to dump any more stuff, right, into, then I can just paste stuff like this. It'll just work from you know, from MSDN or from Visual Studio or from whatever C project, and just change the syntax to an audience syntax, and it'll work, because all the, you know, all the names and all the type names, they all they just work because they're with the same name. Okay, so let's get back to where we were. So we're good in here. We have an age model. We have this guy. It's a proc. It returns an age model. Done. Okay, so we can call this thing. So it returns an age module, which is just a raw pointer. But we then need to convert it to an age instance, right? Let's see. Yeah, so we need an age instance here, and this thing is supposed to return it. So we'll do this, right? So we need an age instance, right? This guy. So let's see what that is. So what happened? Age instance, and I'm gonna do this. Wages instance is this guy, and as you can see here, there's all these void pointers. Age instance, and look, here's age module, and we have a bunch of other things. Anyway, so they're all void pointers. So they're all technically the same type, but in our application, it is good practice to treat them, or like pretend that there are different types. So age instance, right? The way we pretend there are different types is by using this word distinct, right? So we have age model in age instance. So our proc in our bindings is actually returning an age module, and we need an age instance. So we can just say in this case that we want to transmute whatever we get to an age instance, right? And our type, we'll just do this. Okay. So we got an age instance. Though this thing actually gets a an argument here. So let's go to MSDN. Yeah, get module handle. So if we go here, we can see that if this parameter is, yeah, this guy. If this parameter is null, get module handle returns a handle to the file used to create. Yeah, okay, so we can basically pass in a null there, which in Odin's case would be a nil. So we'll just say nil. Yep. So we have our age instance. What else we need? We're gonna skip the wind proc for now. Let's do cursor. So what's load cursor? Because we need, this gets an age cursor, right? Which is probably another handle, right? Struct, yeah, age cursor. Age cursor, don't have in our types. Is probably gonna be another one of those. Let's just verify. Do we have an age cursor here? Yes, we do. And an age cursor is an age icon, and an age icon is just a void pointer. Okay, so they're all handles basically. Okay, so let's go back in here. We have the struct. While we're at it, we have age icon. We're gonna need it anyway, and an age brush. And we saw that age icon and age cursor are the same already, so we'll just do that in types. Right, and in age brush. What's an age brush? Can we find age brush here? Yeah, it's another one of those. Okay, we're gonna pick up the pace in a bit here. I'm just going through it the hard way, just this first time, and then we'll pick up the pace. Okay, so I think we got everything except this wind proc, which we'll get to. Okay, so style, as you can see, style is actually a uint. This is kind of its own story. So basically, an int can receive a combination. You can see it's like a bitwise, or it's like a bit set. Basically, you can combine a bunch of flags. You can call them, which would be signify a whole bunch of things. So let's have a look at this. Yeah, so you see these are all just constants, and they're just representing some hexadecimal value. So I won't go through like which one of those we need and why. I'm just going to show you what I'm using, and I'm going to explain what I'm using and why. Okay, so these guys, there's like maybe a historical reason for it. I think it's like a refresh, vertical and horizontal. Sys double click is optional. We're gonna need it because we want a window to support double click. Sys on Windows, on DC. DC is a concept we'll talk to a little bit. I won't be using it that much. It's just the device context. It's a way that Windows tracks the stuff that you draw onto the window. CS I think is class. On DC is like a flag that means that we can have just one device context that we can instantiate. We can have one of those, and it's like going to be like a global, and you can use it all the way until the application closes, because we're not going to be having multiple of them and stuff like that. So it's just a way to signify to Windows that these are the stuff that we want in our window, for our window class, for this window class. So we need to define all these things, and you can just go to MSDN and just see and copy this, and we'll just make like constants of those. So let's just create new file. We'll call it constants.odin. That'll be the last file we need in the Windows bindings. And I'm just gonna cheat a bit and just paste some stuff. Just a little bit. We haven't looked at use defaults. I'm not even sure we're gonna use it. These are the stuff that we want, right? Anyway, so just constants, and they're just, you know, some hexadecimal values, and we're ORing them together, and then we get an integer, and that's what we pass to this style member of this struct. Okay, load cursor. Because we need to return an H cursor. So by the way, I think I got it from here. Do we have load cursor? Probably have load cursor. Yeah. So say it's cursor, you use the load cursor, you can click it. So it could either go to W or A. This is like ASCII, this is the wide, which is like the Unicode, whatever. And it takes an instance, but I think we will see that we can just pass in nil, and then it will be like the cursor for all the instances. And then it's just a string with like a cursor name. We'll get to that in a bit. So that's it. Boom. That's loading cursor. So we need this procedure, right? And it returns an H cursor, and it takes an instance, and this okay, instance and module whose executable file contains the cursor to be loaded. Remarks, yeah. Anyway, so where do you grab it from? It's from user32lib. Okay, so there's another library we need to bind to. So let's go to our bindings. Okay, we'll paste this here. We'll copy these guys. We'll change them to user32. Right? User32. And this is gonna be not userl, just user. We'll call this user, we'll call this user, and done. And now we're gonna grab this guy and we're gonna put it here, and we're gonna smush it to becoming an Odin thing, and it's not gonna be implemented, right? So we're gonna, it gets an edge instance, which we already have, and this we already know is like a C string with like a cursor name, which we probably don't necessarily have to provide, but of course it needs to be a proc. Okay, so basically we're binding to two libraries, right? And for this library, it's gonna look for this name, right? This procedure name with this signature, and returns this value, and it's gonna bind our program to that one. And for user32, for this library, it's gonna search for this thing called this, and it's gonna, you know, with this signature, and returning an H cursor. And all these types were already defined here, right? So we got this thing. So load cursor, we said, see, it jumps in here. Instance, so we pass our instance, or we pass nil. We pass nil. and then we like what kind of cursor do we want it to display. So we do this IDC cursor, which is like I think like the default cursor. So Windows has this, where is it? See, all these guys. So IDC arrow. This is just the standard arrow. So when our mouse hovers over our window, this is the arrow that we want to see. This is the standard arrow. Not error. So let's find out what this guy is. Where did he put it? Okay. Come on. Okay, and this we see is a macro that passes in some specific value. So what is this macro doing? It's doing this. And what is this doing? This is the W. We're supposed to want it to A because we're not using Unicode. So it's a long pointer to string, and a U long pointer and a word. Right? Okay, so we're casting it to a word, that value that we just saw, which I copied already. So we can say this guy. We can say we're casting this to a word. And so what's a word? A word is, let's do this. A word is unsigned short, which is U16, right? So our word in our types is going to be, whoops, U16. Okay, so we've cast it into a word. What's the other thing that this does? Any day now. Sometimes this happens. Yeah, okay. Let's just copy this thing so we won't have to look back to it. This is the thing that we want to create. So this is the macro that we want to basically emulate here. Okay, so we've cast it into a word. Now we have to cast it to a U long putter. So we're doing like this. Let's see what a U long putter is. U long putter. A U long putter is an unsigned long, so it's it's a pointer to U long putter. Whatever. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is like the, okay. This is the when C goes nuts and pretends that integers are pointers, basically. But it is like an unsigned long, so it's like it's a U64, if I'm not mistaken. So U long putter. Yeah. So it's just a U64, right? So okay, so we'll just call it a U64. It's gonna be U64, and obviously we don't want to put it in here. We want it in our types. Now the thing that you're going to tackle when you try to do stuff like this. Anyway, we'll get to that. So what's the next thing? So this guy now, what's a LPSDR? LPSDR. Okay. LPSDR. LPSDR is a pointer to a char, and a char is just a char, so it's a U8. So it's a pointer to U8. Okay, so so this guy is a pointer to U8. So it's like this, U8, right? Okay, so this is our types. I'll put it up here. So it's a pointer, right? And what's going to happen if we try to cast, where's the stuff? Here. So the the thing is this number we saw, and then we cast it to a word, and then we cast it to this, and then we cast it to that. And if we try that, we'll see that we'll see that our voting complaint, because this guy is an int and this guy is a pointer, and we cannot just convert like that from an int to a pointer, at least not directly. So if you try to do that, you will see that Odin tells you that you basically have to do this. You get like an error message telling you that you have to do this, right? Now all this thing is just transmuting this number through a bunch of bullshit stuff, and ultimately gets us to a pointer to, I guess, where like a constant place in memory the string lives, something like that. I don't know, I guess Windows is nuts. Anyway, so this thing was our what? It was our name of our arrow. Yes. Okay. What am I doing? It's this, right? So we got our arrow, and we have completed almost our class. So windproc. What is windproc? Go to abstract. That's the last piece of the puzzle. Let's go here and do this. Okay, windproc. What's the signature of windproc? And here we go again. Let's find it in let's find it in SDN. So it is a pointer to a function which has this signature, and this is the main procedure that will handle our messages coming from us and from Windows itself. So we need to define this thing, and then we need to pass it like a pointer to the procedure, and that's what windproc is. So we need to define a procedure that basically looks like this, and it takes a window handle. We're not going to be calling this directly, even though we technically could. We wouldn't. We'll use something called dispatch that we'll talk about in a bit, that will then call this call this thing? This is like the message handler that handles all the messages that coming from Windows to our window. So it gets a window handle to the window, as you can see, and the message identifier. It's like a unit, as you can see. We can switch on it. And then we have like these two guys, which is the W param and an L param. And this basically like two parts of message, wide and low. I don't know. We'll get to that. We'll get to what this means later. But basically, we have to define this thing in our program and then pass it, meaning a pointer to it, to the thing. So we first need to define because we have this field on our struct here. Where is it? Right here, right? So we need to, before we can even define this struct, we need this thing that defines what this is. So we need put it in types, and we'll call it this, and it's going to be a proc. That's gonna have some signature. So to define a signature, we need to actually define it as a type. That's a procedure, and it's a Windows procedure, so it's gonna have to have the standard calling convention, and I think we need to also do distinct for this. That may not be completely necessary. Anyway, so we have this procedure. We need to define its signature. Now it's going to return something. Let's see what it returns. It returns, let's just copy all this. That's our winproc. Okay, so it's going to return an L result, and let's just do this, and it's going to have this signature right here, right? And we technically just need the types for a signature. We don't need the names yet, not for a signature anyway. I'll leave the comments. Okay, so unit we already have, but the other guys we don't. So what's age wind? So an age wind is probably just another handle. Let's see. Does it go anywhere? It doesn't like me. Okay. By the way, oh, okay. Let's see. Whoa. Okay. Guess that's not what I wanted. Anywho, we'll just assume that it's gonna be like just another handle. Because it's starts with an H, and I kind of know that it is a handle. So, okay. So we have this. It's gonna be another handle, right? Just put those above this. Okay. L result. What's an L result? Let's find out. My thing stopped working completely. Did it? Yeah. Anyway, L result. It's a long putter. You don't say. What's a long putter? It's just long. Okay. Okay, so a long putter. Yeah, it's one of those cases where C goes nuts and pretends that integers are pointers, because why not? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So this is what it is, and then we can just say that the result is that thing, right? L result is that thing. Because why not? Okay, copy paste. So we're W param and L param. Let's see. W param. Come on, you can do it. W param is a uint putter. What's a uint putter? It's just a uint, obviously. Okay. Uint putter. Do we have a uint putter? Of course not. Okay. It's obviously just a uint, because why not? And that was what? That was W param, right? Yeah. What's L param? L param is a long putter, and I think we already have a long putter. Do we? I think we do. Yeah, we do. Long putter. So L param is a long putter. And what we saw that W param I already forgot. W param was a unit putter. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Right? Anyway, so we got our params and our result and blah 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 blah. We have a win proc. And finally, we have our full struct definition. Okay? Yeah. Yep. So that's our struct. Let's go to here. So we have all of these, and we have a window class, and instantiated with all the stuff that we need, and we have a new instance. Now we're ready to move on to the rest of the Win32 creating our window. So we need to register a window class first. Let's see how that works. I think we have it here. Register, right? Register class EXW. I'm not sure that's what I want. Well, let's see. Let's see. Register class. There we go. Register. Yeah, we can use that, I think. Okay. So it returns an atom, which we won't go into, and it's, where is it from? It's user. Okay. So we need to expose it to our thing in our bindings in the user. Just notice, oh, we probably saw it before. Anyway, atom. Do you even care what an atom is? Is a word, obviously. Okay. Sure, it's a word. An atom is a word. Lots of things are words. Actually, everything is a word. Anything I can say is a word. Atom. Right. So we have an atom in our bindings. And of course, we can't do that. We have to do this. And that. And it's a const class. Whatever, I don't think we care. Here we have a pointer. So we're gonna do this, right? Sorry, this. Right. Yeah. Okay. So we can register a class. So we can use this, and we pass a pointer to our class. That's our Windows class, window class, and away we go. Do we need to check for errors? I don't know. I don't think we do, and I don't really care. It returns if the function fails to return value 0 to get an error, blah blah blah. Okay, I'm not going too deep on this, but we can do the basic thing of, I don't know, result. It's going to be whatever this returns, and if we're only going to do that in when in debug mode, which is when coding debug. We'll do assert that result is not equal to 0, otherwise say, is that right? Function fails, the return value is 0, yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so if it fails, it returns 0, so we're gonna assert that it isn't 0, otherwise we're gonna say failed to register class. Boom. Okay, so otherwise, if we haven't failed, then we've successfully registered our class and we can move on to actually creating our window. Oh my god, yes, we're doing it. Okay, let's go to again. Create window. Create window. Create window. A is a macro. Okay. And it has this stuff. It's a macro. Probably to this. Okay, so let's click on this. Yeah, that's the actual function. I think we can actually see it here. So we do this. Oh, come on. What was it called? No, I want this. And yeah, it is a macro which ends up so it passes a bunch, it accepts a bunch of things that go on forever. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it gets all these guys and then it calls this. It's just 0L at the end, at the beginning, and passing everything else. Right? So we can just define this and pass a 0 and we'll be fine. Okay. It's probably what Handmade is saying as well. Yeah, the first thing is in DWX style, so it's a style for extended, like the extended flags of the extended style, whatever that means, and we probably don't care. So we need this guy, and this guy is where? Is in user 32. So we go back to user 32. Here, and we do this. Alright, it's gonna be a proc. It's gonna return the thing. Alright. Let's see. D word we don't have, I guess. This we do have, I think. Yeah, it's the window thing. It's the handle to the window. I think we have it on types. Yeah. Bindings. D word. What's a D word? D word. Okay, it's an unsigned long, which is a U64 or 32. Right. It's a U32. Long, I think it's a 64. Yeah. Okay, so U32. So we're gonna do that. Types a D word as opposed to a word. Yeah. Is a U32. And back to our bindings. So we have these. I think we already have this guy. Yes. And yeah. And these are just ints, which is an int. Age menu is probably just another handle. Let's see if we can verify that. Even if we don't, it's probably going to be fine. Age menu. Oops, age menu. Yeah, it's just a handle. Okay. Go back. Bindings. Age instance we already have. LP void. Do we have LP void? No, we don't. So we'll define LP void to be I'm gonna wild guess that it's gonna be like raw booter pointer to raw booter. Let's find out. Yeah, it's a pointer to a void, which whatever that means. It's a pointer to a void. So it's a pointer to, it's a raw pointer. Pointer to a void is a raw pointer. So LP void is just a raw pointer. Actually, it's not a pointer to a raw pointer. It's just a raw pointer. Great. Okay, so we have our thing, and of course we need to structure it such that it's loading and not C. I'm gonna cheat a bit on the formatting. Yeah. We have this. There we go. So now we could create a window. Don't you know? Right. And it returns a window handle. So we just do a window like that. We do handle to window. We can do because we know. Right. Boom, 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 boom. So we know that the first one is going to be 0. I'm gonna pick up the pace a little bit, and I'm going to do this. So that's a window, and we're passing 0, and then the application class name, and then nothing, which I think is like the parent window. We do need to talk about these two. Okay, Oh god, oh yes, okay, so this guy is a flag, but it's actually an amalgamation of these flags, which some of those are amalgamation of other flags. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna cheat, and I'm just gonna paste this thing in our constants. Okay, so it's just, you know, the same old thing that we saw before. It's a bunch of hexadecimal values that come from here, as you can see, and this is like an amalgamation of those, so like an o-ring of them. So as you can see right here, that's all I'm doing. You can go one by one and do it by hand. I'm just trying to pick up the pace here. Okay, so we got this. This basically the standard thing that everybody passes in. It's like a window that can overlap and it has all these other features that it amalgamates over. And this CW default, I think we already have. It's just another one of those constants. Yeah, I've pasted it before. This is the size of our window. Initially it's going to be like 500 by 400, and what else? We don't have a parent window. The nil that we passed before was actually the style. No, this is the style. So Windows class, Windows name. Where did I pass nil? 1, 2, 3. So the third. Oh yeah, it's okay. It's the thing that shows up, like the title of the window. We can say our application, right? Anyway, so these two are gonna be where the window will land. So this constant is saying, hey, put it wherever you think it's relevant and reasonable to put it. So it's like in the middle somewhere, like the X and Y. And these are the size that we do provide, and then we have we don't have a parent window, so it's going to be nil. We don't need a menu because we don't care about having a menu. We do pass our instance, and we don't pass this thing, which I'm not even sure what it is, but it's like we can pass a nil here. Okay, now we have a window, and if we're in debug mode, we're gonna assert that we got a window. It's not nil, and otherwise we're gonna say that we have a window. We're almost there. Oh my god. Okay, so next thing. We need to have this procedure we forgot to actually define. We just define the signature of the thing so we can have a struct, but we didn't actually define the procedure. So picking up the paste a little bit, we're gonna do this thing, right? That's our procedure. That returns a result. Yeah. Sorry. Actually, we can just do this. Returns the result, and here we have our WinProc, the thing that processes the messages, and of course it's going to be something that is called from Windows and from by ourselves, and we need to switch on the message thing, right? So depending on which message we get, we do stuff. So we're gonna switch on message, and what do we get? So so now we need to look at some messages. What happens if the Windows wants to be destroyed, wants to get closed? You know what? Let's do one step at a time. So the default case, we can we can tell Windows, hey, I don't know what to do here, you do it. So there's this thing. Which has this signature, and it is from user 32. So we'll go to user 32. Bindings, user 32. And we'll do this, right? And then of course I'm going to cheat and do this, right? Def window proc. Okay, we have everything already that we need, so we can just call it now. So this thing, in all the cases that we won't handle, it's just a pass through, and then Windows handles the thing, and we'll finish that in just a second. But let's just continue on here. So we have a window, otherwise we would have failed. We want to show the window. Window. Let's see what show window is. Show window. It takes a window handle and a command show. Now the command show is God. It has all these things. Default. That looks good. Show default. This is basically like the stuff that if you double click like a shortcut, and it has some options in there, and you basically can define what like the mode of the window that's supposed to be shown. Anyway, so we have this thing, and it's going to be 10, right? So we'll do constants. Do we have it? I don't think we have it. These are SW, and this is WS. Anyway, so this is going to be 10. And we're gonna use this to show the window. Now, we're going to show the window, and there's going to be a queue of messages that gets flooded into our application, and we need to start polling it. So we're going to do for and we're going to peek on the message, peek a message, deal with an A. Let's see what that is. Peek message. Right. So it takes a LP message, which is a long pointer to a message, right? Which is this struct. So we need a message struct, right? Which is this, which has all this stuff in it. Let's start it. So this is a struct. We're gonna need a message struct, so we need to define it in our structs here. Right. Don't care about that. We care about this. This is a message, and I'm gonna cheat and do this. Okay, and this is what long pointer, that PM is just a pointer to this thing. Okay, long pointer to message. I'm not even gonna show and prove that. You can get the idea already by now. So this is the message, and we need to define that procedure that we had, which is this guy, right? Which is defined where? Defined where? In user. Most of the stuff are defined in user. So mining user, ta-da, and I'm gonna cheat. Peek message. Okay, so it returns a bool. So we got this, we got this, we got this. You don't know what a bool is. Bool is an int, actually. But no, actually, so this is an interesting thing a little bit. So in our types, not our structs, bool is actually going to be, where is it, all the way up, is actually going to be B8, B8? No, B32. That's how, it's like a boolean, but it's 32 bits because there are no booleans in C, so it's an int which is 32. Let's see. There we go. What? Pointer? No, bool. Yeah, okay, int. Yeah, so it's a 32-bit, but it's boolean, and we have a thing like that in Odin, so we're gonna use it. So it's a B32. Alright, so we're picking a message, and let's see. So, so we need to define a message, we need to pass a pointer to it, and we need to pass our window. We don't think we have to, because we can just say for all windows. And then we have message filter min and max if you want to filter the messages to a particular range or whatever. We're not going to use it, so we're just passing 0. And then we say, do we remove message or don't remove the message? Because we do want to remove the message because we're pulling it. So, okay. So, yeah. So first of all, we need to make a message. So like make a message. Right. And we want to pass pointer to the message, and we don't care about window, it apply to all of them. No filter, min and max. And here we're gonna do, we want to remove the message, which is, let's go to here, and it's gonna tell us there's the thing called PM remove, which is this guy. So we'll do this and constants, and we'll do remove, and it's gonna be this guy, and we'll copy it here. Alright, so we're looping continuously for messages whenever there's but we're gonna empty up the queue, and then we're gonna finish our application and quit. So obviously we don't want to do that, so we want to do some kind of like infinite loop or almost infinite loop that's gonna run this thing, right? And what we want to gate on, where we have an application, and if memory serves right, our application has, let's see, and is running. Surprise, surprise. So while our application is running, we're gonna like empty the queue, and then this is gonna block until there's like a new message on the queue, and the second time we loop, and then once there's a message, pulls the message, and on we go. So we're pulling messages from the queue, and then we need to decide what to do with them. So I'm gonna just paste these two guys here, because you're gonna see them everywhere that you look on the internet about how to do this kind of stuff. This translates the message, it just deals with like keyboard stuff, making it legible, and then dispatch message actually dispatches the message that we pulled from the queue, and then it'll end up in here, right? But we don't want to call this manually ourselves, because this is going to be called by other means also from the Windows itself, in certain situations, like the window gets behind another window or stuff like that. Anyway, so we're doing this, but this will just go on forever and will never close. So we need to know when the window is about to be destroyed. We want to set this thing to false so we can break from here. So we dispatch those things, we come up to here, it'll get into here, and there's going to be some message that's going to say destroy, right? Because there's all kinds of messages that we're gonna look into. Let's see, in 32, in here, there's a bunch of messages. Where is it actually? Yeah, okay. So it's this guy. Right? It's just to define. Let's do that. I think I did it already. Maybe not. Constants. System. Sorry. That's WS. WM. Windows message is gonna be in constants. Gonna be this. Okay, so when we get destroy the destroy message, what we want to do is two things. First, we want to do this set to false, such that next iteration, once this gets emptied and it comes to here, is running is going to be false, and then we're going to get out of here and finish with the application. And this is going to happen whenever the application is asked to be destroyed by whatever means. If you press the X button, or if you had like a menu and you do like file exit or something, we don't have a menu, or if we do like kill the thing from some other way or whatever. Anyway, so we're gonna do this, and we do want to actually forward onwards, because we're gonna do this on top of the thing that happens, right? In addition to, we don't want to stop it from actually destroying the window. We want to continue destroying the window. We just want to also exit our application. So the way we do that is when we do a post quit message with a 0. So let's see what that means. Almost there. Post quit message. This thing, I'm going to exit code, and we're going to exit code 0, right? We want to quit. And it's also in user 32, right? So we have those three last things that we did. So this post quit message and those two that I haven't implemented yet. So I'm just going to cheat, and I'm going to go to the bindings, and I'm going to put those two. We have our pick message. We need translate and dispatch, and right. Okay. Anything, we have a message already, we have a message, and we have an int for the exit code. And this should be it, actually. So let's see. We have window. Oh, okay, so there's one more thing. I can actually start trying to run it and see how far we get. And you'll see there's one additional thing that I have to do, and that we'll talk about. Okay, so what are the chances that we haven't made a single mistake? Basically nil, right? So let's see. Let's start. Okay. In types, let's go to types. Types in line 35. Oh, okay. That's easy. Next thing, syntax error in line 36. Oh, I think we need to do this. Or do we? Wait a minute. I think we're just missing this thing. Okay, undeclared name point. Okay, we forgot a struct. Where is it? Struct for our message. Yeah, a message needs a point. Okay, so let's see. Point. I'm just gonna cheat. You already saw how to do that. This is a point. It has a long, and I don't think I have a long. Do I? Of course not. So a long is I32, I think. Yeah. Okay, so next. Cast. Oh my god, there we go. As we convert it to uint pointer first. That's the thing that I said that we're gonna get the message. I thought I fixed it already, but I guess I didn't do it properly. Maybe it's like this. Yeah, that's all it. Def window proc with a different. Oh my god. Okay, so let's see. Def window proc A. Let's go to our bindings. And what are we doing wrong? Uint param. Let's see. Okay. L result. What is L result? U long. Let's double check that. L result is a long putter. Long putter. Oh. Okay. Next thing. No, it didn't yet. Let's see. We had long param. Uint. Yeah, that's fine. L param is a long pointer, and W param is a uint pointer. The uint pointer is, I think I made a mistake. Unsigned int. I think it's, yeah, 64. Okay. So let's see. E64. Like a pointer in 64-bit. It's gonna be, yeah, okay, got it. Missing return statement in window. Is that right here? Yeah. It's never gonna happen because because of this guy, but because there is a case here, but whatever. Cannot understand value IDCR of type something. Whoa. Let's see. Can I do this? Okay. Missing at the end. Oh, yeah, this is what I just did. To see string in. Oh, okay, I do see. That's the whole shebang there. Let's see. Let's watch our bindings. Bindings. This guy. LPC and age instance. Okay, so this should have been this guy. I had a mistake. And unclear show window. Let's see. I forgot to bind it. Well, let's bind it. Bindings. Create window. Show window. Right, we have all these guys. You already know how to do that. We've done this a million times. And hold on to your butts. We have a window. Success. And of course it's not painting properly, but it is a well-behaving window. And when I close, click, ta-da, the application closes. We have achieved our goal for the day. We have a window working. Alright, that was a very long stream. I expected it to be that, and I did want it to get all the way through and get a window on the screen. The next streams, maybe the next stream or so, is going to be still a bit heavier on Win32, but not nearly as much. But the following streams after that are going to be a lot smoother. So hope you liked it, and hope you'll join me for the rest of this course. Bye bye.